Welcome back to Unmasking Deception, and today we are doing a deep dive into Trump's trade war. And are we on the brink of disaster? Trade wars. They sound distant, abstract, but the reality is they can have devastating consequences. Today we're asking, are Trump's trade policies pushing us toward an economic disaster? Let's rewind. The Trump administration's America First agenda led to the imposition of tariffs on goods from China, Europe, and other nations. The goal? To protect American industries and jobs. But the reality has been far more complex. Trump called it Liberation Day, and it is with the world being liberated from mostly substandard American goods and services. Whatever happened to make America great again? The world wants the great old America too, when American goods were quality, innovative, and frankly brilliant. In fact, it isn't complex. It is completely bonkers and nonsensical. The goal of bringing jobs and manufacturing back to the USA is a good one, but the devil is in the details. Tariffs act like taxes on imports. This means higher prices for consumers on everything from steel to electronics. Businesses, facing increased costs, are forced to cut back, leading to job losses and reduced investment. Yeah, that sounds all good, but here is the real skinny. Here is the real problem. This is a sledgehammer where precision is required. There are tariffs on steel and aluminum and all the machinery to create the factories. This pushes the costs up by 40%, so it is counterproductive to build the factories. In fact, corporations could be sued for investing in this at this time. You are going to increase your capital expenditure by a massive amount at an over 40% surcharge for future possible savings of 25% on tariffs, when it is cheaper to just forget the cost and pass on the tariffs. However you say, how does a 25% tariff equate to 40%? Well, it is all across the supply chain, and margins means it goes up. Plus the problem with hidden costs, such as paying the tariffs, additional paperwork, etc. So 40% is reasonable. In fact, the type of factories that Trump wants means the cost is more like a 60-70% surcharge because interest rates are high, and the cost of financing, cost of arbitrage, insurance over a 5-year build. In other words, it's just the wrong time for corporations at the moment. So they promise but can't break ground. Now farmers, a key Trump demographic, have been hit hard. Retaliatory tariffs have closed off export markets, leaving them with surplus crops and plummeting incomes. Many small businesses, reliant on global supply chains, are also struggling to stay afloat. The trade war has also created uncertainty, deterring businesses from making long-term investments. This uncertainty, coupled with rising costs, is slowing economic growth and raising fears of a recession. What is more of a worry is that in this time of uncertainty, then people look to other suppliers. Essentially, the USA is no longer unique. There is nothing that you can't get from elsewhere. So China has already struck a deal for Belgium and the Netherlands to ramp up their higher quality pork production. Soy from Brazil and crops from Australia. China's supply is uninterrupted, but with the higher standards they will have no desire to go back to US farming. It isn't tariffs, but quality which stops US farming from supplying into Europe. The US is the cancer capital of the world with lower food standards than any other nation. There is the risk no one will go back. Why pay more for inferior products? Some argue that these tariffs are necessary to protect American industries and address unfair trade practices. They claim that the short-term pain will lead to long-term gains. But the data tells a different story. The global economy is interconnected. A trade war between the world's two largest economies, the US and China, sends shockwaves around the globe. Other nations, caught in the crossfire, are also experiencing economic hardship. So are we on the brink of disaster? The answer is complex. The full extent of the damage is still unfolding. But one thing is clear. Trade wars have real consequences, and the costs are mounting. In the day after so-called Liberation Day, the US has lost over $2 trillion in its stock market. But importantly, it is losing almost $500 billion in trade. The real problem for the USA is once people switch from the American products, they probably won't switch back. On a personal note, I loved Maker's Mark bourbon. It was my favorite, but like every American product, it lowered its quality and pushed up prices, so I switched. I don't drink US bourbon or beer and don't start on the chocolate. Yet this is not new to Americans. People pay a premium for Mexican Coca-Cola. That's right, the staple of Americana is rubbish in comparison to its south of border cousin. So the trade war can't be a success as the timing is wrong. American products, as even Americans know, are no longer quality, more expensive and lower quality. It's crucial that we understand the economic implications of these policies. We need to hold our leaders accountable and demand responsible trade practices that benefit all Americans. Like, subscribe, and all that good stuff below. Support the channel at www.newalbion.info, link in the description. Thanks for watching. Stay strong.